So thank you everyone for coming. We're really glad to host you here at Algolia. And today I will talk to you about Family.scss and on a larger scope, how to create a badass open source project. And by badass, I mean a project that will bring you some recognition, followers and stars and everything that everyone likes. So first of all, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Lucas Bonomi. You can find me on every social network as LukiVJ. I'm front-end developer here at Algolia, and I'm a member of Bulgit, and I'm a huge CSS, SAS, JavaScript, and open source lover, among all the things I love. So, first of all, Family.scss, what is it? It's a SAS mixin. It's a SAS mixin library that will help you to manage that will help you to use the nth selectors. So you can use it to manage nth-child, nth-of type, or nth-of child elements. So if you don't know what is the nth-child selector, it's basically a CSS pseudo-class selector, and it will allow you to select one or more elements based on their order of appearance into the parent and some other parameter you define. So here we don't see really good, but there is an example. Based on the value which is between the two parentheses, I can apply a certain style to a certain element. So here it's the second and then the third. So this is really simple, but you can do much more thing with it. So here it's a simple nth-child selector, but it will allow you to do much more complex things. So here I can select more than one element. So this is only for you to understand what's an nth selector. So, what's the use of Family.scss? It's mainly a shorthand mixin, a set of shorthand. So here you can read it actually. Include first three. They will have an active class, which will be translated into this pure CSS, and which will give us such effect. So it will select the three first element of an array of child. There is more complex mixins that will allow you to select elements between a given element A and a given element B, which will be translated into a much more long and complex CSS selector. So basically, Family.scss is kind of an abstraction layer of CSS that will help you to do things faster. So an overview. Here I show you a few mixins that I use in Family.scss. Some of them take parameters. So after the first 5 elements, we will apply a style. All elements but the fifth will have a style. Every odd element between the third and the 13, and etc. And some other didn't take any parameters because they don't need it. Like if you just want the first and the last element, you can just use the first last mixin. And there is also what we call quantity queries, which is really cool. So the first one, for example, will only apply a style if there is 10 children into the array. So if there is 11, it won't work. If there is 9, it won't work neither. And yeah, there is also an at most. So if there is at most 10 elements, it will apply a style. If there is at least 10 elements, it will apply a style. And if you have a range between 5 and 10 elements, it will apply a style. If you have 4 elements, it won't work. If you have 11 elements, it won't work. So it's really not really easy to understand. So I put here a small demo. Yeah, actually this is the page I'm using. This is my landing page, and I did some dynamic demonstrations to show you it was working. For example, here I can select the 5 first elements, and I can remove child or add child just to test mixin. So for example, here from the end of the array, I will decrement the number, I mean the ID of the item. So for example, if I want the 6, I will write the 5. So after the 5 element included, it will apply the style to the 6th one. And yeah, there is other mixin. So here, for example, I want to select every element between the 5th and the 10th. So yeah, and if I add a child, you can see that it's only those elements that are wrapped into my thing. And yeah, and it keeps going like this. You can try every and each mixins, and it will give you a direct direct visual response of what's happening under the hood. So, yeah, so this is basically Family.scss. It's a really long landing page. There is a lot of examples, and there is at the end a playground if you want to try them directly. For example, here is the first one. I can change it directly, and boom, you can see it just changed here. So it's just to help people to understand what's happening. So now I presented you a Family.scss. I will start the second part of my talk, which is the open source side. So with the time, I made a small recipe. I found out a small recipe to create an open source project, and it will bring you in the end more followers, more stars, and more recognition of your work. So the first thing to do is to solve the problem, because otherwise it won't be useful. You can ask for feedback. There is nothing wrong in asking for feedback. It's really helpful, and it will help you getting better. You have to care a bit about design, because nobody wants to see something that is not beautiful. I mean, that's my point, and it seems that it worked. Prepare the release of your project. You have to think about it before releasing it. You have to share it wisely. By wisely, I mean think before sharing, think how you will share it, and in the end, you have to interact with your community. So the first point: fix a problem, solve a problem. So this is one of the key. This is a key of a successful open source project, is to keep it simple. And if you have to spend more time on something, it's probably the documentation. Nobody wants to have to read the documentation which is fully based on text. It makes it hard to understand, makes it hard to find information. So if you have to spend more time in tailoring something, it's the documentation. You can ask for feedback. It's the best way to know what people will think about your project, and it can be really negative. But in the end, if you ask for feedback, you ask people to be critical about your project, and it will help you to getting better. For this project particularly, when I released the first iteration, I showed it to people from Algolia, and they destroyed me totally. And well, it was really negative, but then I took care of every feedback. I worked on every single bit that people were telling me about, and in the end, the result was better than what I expected. So it's definitely a good thing. So yeah, you have to care about design. A beautiful design will please your users, so make it personal and unforgettable. For example, if today I say Bootstrap, I'm pretty sure every one of you will see the Bootstrap website, even though it's not a reference. But everyone will. If I say Babel.js, you will see the Babel page, and just because they put a lot of effort into the landing page, and you remind it more easily. So yeah, I already showed you my website, but yeah, basically I put effort on the design because I wanted people to notice what was interactive and what wasn't. So the theme is mainly blue, but every element that you can interact with are in acid color, in a pink, red, pink color, and that will catch the eye of the user directly. They will understand that they can interact with it, and yeah, it's still better. As for the header, I put some interactivity into the header. So for example, I don't know if you see it properly, but the title, there is an animation on the title, and this is the first thing that the user will see. It will catch his eye, and I'm pretty sure that in a general term, it will help them to remind your project. So yeah, I already showed you this, but basically every samples are dynamic. You can try them, you can test them. You have a visual response of what's happening. It will help you understand what the project is about. I mean, if you can do it, do it. It's always better, and your users will like to play with it and will like to try to break it. And I mean, that's the goal. And yeah, it will help you to make a project that people will remind about. And as I told you, I created a small playground at the end. That way, people can directly try the mixins and have an idea of how it's working. They can try stuff. Like for example, in Babel.js, you can try Babel directly in the Babel playground. And I think today for a like good project, and if you want to use a framework or anything, you must show your users what they are waiting for. I mean, what they will have, instead of letting them install and guess and try. So now you have to prepare the release. You have to think on which social media you will post your project. For example, for my project, the guy from Algolia told me, yeah, you can post it on Hacker News on a Sunday evening, and I can tell you that it can be a big surprise for you. So I did it, and the Monday morning, I was totally amazed to see that more than 1,000 people visited my website on a Sunday evening, and or Sunday afternoon, depending where you are on the planet. And yeah, it was really a good thing. So I put a lot of effort in preparing my release to know where I will post them. I prepare my post on product hunt and stuff like this. And you really have to use all the tools that internet is bringing you to make your project something huge, quote unquote. You can ask people to get involved, as I said. There is nothing wrong in that. For example, on product hunt, if you ask someone which is really influent to post your project, which I do all the time because I want my project to have a bigger impact than if I did it alone. They will notify a lot more people when they post it. So you can, for example, you on Product Hunt, you have 200 followers. The person which is more influent will have 3,000, and so they will notify a lot more people. You will have a lot more visits. It's logic, but still it's something good to have in mind. You have to share it wisely. So there is some tools that exist today on the web, like Clock Tweets or TweetDeck or Buffer, that will help you to schedule your posts. And so you can prepare like 3 months in advance. Okay, every Wednesday at noon, I want to post my project, and you just set it up one time, and then you can forget about it. But it will help your follower to stay into to help them to remind about your project, and they will be like, oh yeah, you're the guy that make this. Anyway, it's still good to schedule posts and posting in a recurrent way. And also, GitHub and Twitter and Facebook and a lot of other services allows you to directly put sharing button directly into your page, or starring button or stuff like this. Just compare. What if you, the user, you like a project and you want to tweet about it? You will have to take the URL, maybe a screenshot, open Twitter, write your tweet and tweet it. And if you use the tool that Twitter and GitHub provides you, you can just put a link, tweet me or anything you want at the end of your page or at the beginning, it's up to you, with a pre-written message. And that way the user will only have to click once and twice to tweet, but you won't have to do much work to talk about your project. And it's really something that I put an emphasis on, because it's really something useful. If you want to have a successful project, and if you want to have a lot of interactions with your followers and stuff like this, use these tools. And yeah, you can use them all. There's nothing to be ashamed. You have to interact with your community. So right after you shared your project, you will have people that will start opening issues on GitHub. If you're using GitHub or GitLab or whatever you use, they will start opening issues, pull requests. It's good to try to respond as fast as possible. It's like you when you use the support of X service. You don't want the support to respond you like 1 month or 2 months after. Just try to respond as fast as possible. It's still good. And if you have a good relation with your users, they will bring you like new feature ideas. They will fix bugs for you. They will have new ideas, and if you care, they will care also, and they will think that you're someone nice, and they will keep following you and keep trying to help you with your project, which is another goal of everything. And so all this recipe to see the benefits, because there is benefits. So for my case, I went to the first, what I thought successful project I did, which is the one, which had an average of 50 stars, and I don't think today it's much more than this. And I applied my recipe on every project I did after. And you can see that it's more or less increasing with the time. And I personally never thought I would make a project that will have 2K stars at some point, but I did because I tried to apply my recipe all the time. And it will bring you watchers, so people that will be noticed when you change something. It will bring you stars and forks, and it will bring you like recognition on your work. It's always cool to see that people use your tool and download it and stuff like this. I mean, it's the goal. And you can think that I say all of this. I mean, it's not only for me. A few months ago, a friend of mine told me he was about to create a project, and I gave him my recipe. And this is his project today. I checked today, he got 1,400 stars, and this is the first time he got such amount. All the project he did before had like 20 stars maximum, and he applied the recipe I gave you. He put emphasis on the design. He talked about it like on social media. He scheduled his post. He responded to issues like within less than an hour, and yeah, and so he's able to do project that have that much stars and interactions with users. And yeah, so if I had to summarize everything: solve a problem, ask for feedback, care about design, prepare the release, share it wisely, and interact with your community. And that's it. Thank you for listening. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to respond. Right. No questions? Okay.
Yeah, one question. So
Yep.
how much time do you spend?
Can you talk in this, please? I can throw it to you. It's
Okay. So the question is, how much time do you spend on communicating about your project, like responding to GitHub issues and
in general,
compared to the time you spend on
I usually when I start the project, I try to respond every day. Today, this project is like nearly 6 months old, so I try to spend my weekends on it because I have to work on the week. And yeah, the sharing side is really not something that you have to put effort in. If you have the right tools, you can do it really like automatically. You prepare yours. I mean, it's not really time consuming. It's less time consuming to schedule posts than posting them like every time you. Did I respond to you?
Yeah, but I mean for GitHub, for instance, so you have notifications.
Oh yeah. Each time someone each time someone participate into my project, either opening an issue or opening a peer, I got an email because it's a setting from GitHub, and yeah, and I try to respond as fast as possible.
Okay, so you always manage to be really quick.
Not always, because yeah, as I told you, like today, if someone opens an issue on this project, I will wait the weekend, or I will throw an eye on it and try to respond as fast as possible. But if it's really something complicated and time consuming, I will do it on the weekend, because yeah, I mean it's not my work. It's an open source project. It's a side project, and I don't want to.
Yeah, so it's really huge time management.
It depends on what you users ask.
Okay, thanks.
No problem. All right, Andre. Oh, yeah. I throw you the box. No, try to speak loud.
Yeah,
it's for the.
Okay, so my question is, what would be your reaction if someone else worked on the same project or on the same idea? For example, a team. So as you know, a team is doing too much time, less time on such thing, or maybe on any project. So they will be more faster than you, or maybe than a single developer. So what will be your reaction about it? Will you discontinue the project or keep working on it?
Honestly, it depends of what they did, how much they are. If I can get some benefits from their project, if I can get some ideas, because I'm not selling at all my project, it's free. So I mean, if someone inspires me, I will be inspired. But in general, I don't think it's a problem, because well, if a team spend time to do this, they're really not efficient, I think, because it's the work of one person. But otherwise, if it's only one guy that makes an identical project or something really close, I will probably ask him to team up and make something even more cool together.
Okay.
Open source for the win. Now we are done. Okay.